Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast, the show that offers you tips and strategies to help speakers build the business of their dreams. Now here's your host, 30-year industry veteran and business coach, Jane Atkinson.
Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. I'm your host, Jane Atkinson. And if you've been in the industry a while, you have likely heard the name Rachel Sheerin. Welcome to the show, Rachel. I have been wanting to interview you for so long.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, Jane. Hello, everyone out there listening. It's so good to be here. I was just telling you before we started recording, I was reading my Wealthy Speaker book by the pool this weekend. So longtime fan, as you know.
Thank you. Wealthy Speaker 3.0. Rachel wanted to get the updated version, and that one has like a bazillion updates. So you definitely want to check that out. Okay. Tell everybody, you've got lots going on. Tell everybody about your business model. What are all the things that you are out there in the world doing right now?
Totally. Well, I am lucky enough to be a professional speaker, which, Mom, if you're listening, yes, it's a real job, I swear. But, you know, my business model is a little unusual. I think all of us have this opportunity as entrepreneurs to build it the way we want it. So, Jane, full disclosure, I speak, my content is on burnout and happiness and living the life you love and loving the life you live.
Yes.
Well, the saying, you know it, speakers teach what we need to learn. So I built my business to prevent my own burnout and to increase my happiness and love in what I do. So the way my business looks today, as of the summer of 24, is my business is about 60% keynoting on that burnout and happiness topic, leadership, corporate culture, employee engagement, wellness, things like that. And then about 35% of my business is emceeing. So if those unfamiliar with emceeing, a keynote speaker speaks for about 45 to 75 minutes. MCs, you can be there for an hour at the awards. You can be there for 3.5 days wearing a sponsor's merchandise, right? I mean, there's so much that goes into emceeing. But I'll tell you, through COVID, that was such a blessing for me that, people brought me into Keynote virtually a lot of the time. And then they wanted me back and they said, we want you back. We just love your energy. And I thought, I really want to invent all these keynotes. There's only so many keynotes that I can really feel great and know that I nail each and every time. And so that's when emceeing kind of came into the play. About 5% of my business is consulting. It's a very small business, small part of my business that I look to grow. And full disclosure, a lot of my consulting is actually done with a partner, another speaker named Rachel D'Alto, as we like to say. What's better than one, Rachel? It's always two. It's two. But we co-own a firm called The Magnet Method. And, Jane, full disclosure there, the reason we even started it is because I was getting asked to consult. She was getting asked to consult. And yes, could we? Sure. Was it going to be fun? Was it going to, give us a chance of burnout? Probably. But together, oh my gosh, she's got a real psychology and communication expertise. I bring in my sales background, leadership background, of course, burnout and happiness at the forefront. I'm more on the behavioral side. She's on the mind side. Together, that's a consulting business that we're building at the moment. And that's the business as it is.
I love it. Okay. So we've got keynotes, MC work, and consulting. I want to dive deep into MC work because I think, I don't know if everybody knows how much work an MC job is. And I would also like to talk about how you price your MC work because it's so much work.
Yeah. Let's talk about the money, honey.
Okay.
I love your podcast for this, Jane. You're like, let's talk real numbers.
Yeah. Money. So, all right. You get asked to do a 3-day conference and you are the MC. Talk about what that actually entails in terms of workload. How many meetings are you having ahead of time? What's happening on the fly?
Totally. Well, you're going to love the answer. It depends But I'll tell you that I've had a client, one of the largest associations in America, SHRM, they've hired me as an MC. I am on stage twice within the same hour for a total of 7 minutes
Yes.
with the same paycheck that somebody might pay me for, AV check at 6, main stage introduction 8:30, fireside chat at 10, and it keeps going. And then you see me at the networking reception as well, mingling with the VIPs. So I think that's one of the things that is challenging about MC work, but it also gives such a great opportunity. There are MCs out there that say, this is exactly what I do. Eva Saha is someone that comes to mind. She's a great MC that specializes in fireside chats with celebrities. That is one of her best niches, and C-suite leaders for sure. And if Eva were here sitting beside me, we're good friends, she'd say, she doesn't have the events background like I do, right? I come from the meetings and events industry, so I know almost a little too much. But it makes me a great partner. Eva's prowess is totally different. Do I like, researching the speakers and watching their, YouTubes and reading their books? Yes. But Eva is like, that is her niche.
Yes.
She might not offer a package where she juggles. I don't juggle. Call Jeff Savilico,
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the challenges, but opportunities of MC package. It can be as small as you want to be an awards MC. Jane, I love celebrating. Put me in a sequin gown. I will award Vanna White, whatever. I will push the letter.
Yes.
Whatever needs to happen, but it can go through a 3.5-day event. And normally that package, the way that I like to bill it is that it's not just emceeing on site and being your partner in flow, professional speaker introductions, keeping your sponsors happy. Oftentimes sponsors will pay for the MC. But it's also about, it being the event partner before and after. The biggest package I have, we're meeting 6 to 8 weeks out before the event. And I'm truly the event partner. I'm hearing that they're bringing in Dr. Sanjay Gupta, for example. This was a client last week. They were bringing in Dr. Gupta. And I said, okay, are you doing a book signing? And they're like, no, we're doing it with another keynoter. I said, great. Well, I'll bring 3 or 4 of Dr. Gupta's books, and I'll give them to your CEO, your president, and 2 others if there's a VIP. Turns out there were 2 award winners backstage that wanted Dr. Okay. So you go on thriftbooks.com, you spend $4 or $5, Dr. Gupta, if you ever listen to The Wealthy Speaker, which you should, perhaps, this is my trick. And you think, gosh, well, why would you do thriftbooks.com versus Amazon? Number one, they're used books. It's sustainable and eco-friendly. But number 2, Jane, I could give you your book brand new, and you'd know that I would have bought it for $19, $24, whatever dollars on Amazon or wherever. But a used book is a read book.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times it's been commented on. And Jane, you might think, Rachel, why would you spend $20 plus free shipping to do this? That's where my mind goes, because my mind is going holistically. And full disclosure, some MCs are more on the talent side. Pay me to show up. I'll read the teleprompter. I'll do whatever you tell me to. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just different. And that's, I think, one of the cool parts of emceeing for sure.
I think people are hiring you for your vibe. You've got a lot of energy and you show up and you are like the glue that holds the event together. So it could be that you open and then you introduce the first speaker, and then you come back again, and then they see you 3 or 4 more times, and then you do an interview or a panel or something like that, and you could be on the stage, front facing many, many times throughout 3 days. So you guys, it's a lot of work. And it's interesting that you mentioned script. Are they providing you with a script to read, or are you writing the script? That is a ton of work right there, keeping the meeting flowing, having the same kind of energy throughout, and becoming the face of the meeting. I think that's so valuable, especially, let's go back to COVID and talk about virtual. This was the big miss on I don't know how many virtual meetings that I attended, was that there was no MC. There was nobody being the glue that held it all together.
Energy. Yeah. The stitcher, the weaver, how about the savior when the one speaker, I mean, and God love him, Dr. Fauci was my sister's commencement speaker. She graduated as a pharmacist in COVID. Perfect.
Yeah.
So Dr. Fauci's up there. And I have to tell you, Jane, first of all, he's a professional in a different field. He's not a professional speaker.
Scientist.
Jane, we can agree. There is a difference. There is a difference. And while brilliant and wonderful, Jane, I swear, I wish there was an open bar at that commencement, because that guy was a downer.
Oh,
My God, he was a downer. And I get it. And it was brilliant. Of course, these little brand new pharmacists are like eating it up and, all this kinds of thing. My grandmother's leaning over. She's saying, he's brilliant. He's saved the world. I'm like, I'm glad you're loving this, because this is bumming me out. Yeah. But I'll tell you that, to your point, the academics on stage, they're there for the pomp and circumstance, the seriousness of it. And the reality is that a great MC knows how to honor when things are serious and heavy, when you're getting the update, when you're hearing the CEO and they're trying to say, this merger is going to be great. And that 400 people out there are thinking, damn it, this is gonna suck, like they're just, you can feel it, that they're burned out and they're overwhelmed, and this is a lot, and half of them are introverts and they don't want to be there anyway. And you can honor the professional and the serious and crescendo it up. You can also come back clean up after something zany or really high energy and say, you know what? And let me clarify the message, right? I like to think I'm a filter. I'm a thermostat. I'm a little bit of a mini airplane bottle sometimes. I mean, some audiences need different medicine, but it comes back to the 3 E's. I think for me, it's energy, it's engagement, and it's event management. And the event management happens off stage, but it also happens on stage when something goes sideways, which, I mean, Jane, I think all of us have a little bit of, we just know the feeling when someone tells us we're on mute, that shame, that embarrassment, that awkwardness, right? Yeah. A great MC says, you looked great saying that, Jane. Why don't you unmute yourself and say it again, this time with sound for us all? And you're like, okay, you've given me enough time to unmute and things like that. MCing is fun,
Beautiful.
In the work.
Okay, so let's talk about two things. First, is everybody cut out to be an MC? All professional speakers?
No, not at all, Jane. I mean, I will honor this. So I started as a keynoter. Some people start as MCs and try to keynote. Other people just stay in their own lanes, right or wrong, whatever. But I will say this, MCs really are in service of others 100% of the time. They're seen by audiences, they're felt, they're enjoyed, they laugh with. My tagline is, I'm your event BFF. Right? Like I'm the MC everyone wants to be friends with. But a keynote speaker, different purpose. They can do those things. They can feel and connect and be enjoyed and laughed with, but it's really about thought leadership for them. It's about motivation. It's about them being an expert in a certain field. And on top of that, keynoters, they have their own message and they're paid to deliver it on stage. Whereas MCs or great MCs, they're paid to deliver the organization's message and the event message. And it's in service of the attendees. They take the theme and elevate it, the goals and elevate it. They, the educational content, whatever that looks like, they elevate it and they make sure that, a keynote speaker walks into a party, it's like a cocktail party and it's already in full swing and they don't really have to do much. They get to go around the room. I'm not minimizing keynote speakers, but in this party, they get to say hi to the host. They get to, mingle around, tell a couple cool stories and then leave. An MC is there getting the lights and filling up the coolers and making sure no one's stealing from coat check and all those kinds of things. And it's our job to really refill the drinks and make sure that everyone walks into the space of an event thinking, I'm in the right place. Like I feel better. And no matter what happens, I'm so glad that I was here, because that's the kind of stuff that, increases engagement. It increases association membership, which they're so hungry for right now. And it shows value, right? Maya Angelou says, right? We remember how people make us feel. An MC, or at least this is the way I talk about myself, I don't even care if you remember my name is Rachel or Rachel Sheerin, like Ed Sheeran, right? I hear that you say, "Oh, there's the woman with the great outfits. What's she saying again? Oh,
Yeah.
I like her. She's cool."
Yeah.
Because it's not about me. It's
Yeah.
about- and I love keynoting. A lot of times the way my business flows is people will bring me in as a keynoter, then
Mhm.
they'll want to bring me back, right? And I say, "Hey, why don't we do it as an MC? And why don't I hook you up with great other speakers?" Because Jane, I mean, I know you've had the pleasure of it too. I get to see so many speakers as
Yeah.
an MC, the good, the bad, you know, those who shall not be named. And it inspires me. It
Yeah.
teaches me. And that masterclass is such a freaking gift too. So should all keynoters be MCs? No. Should all MCs be keynoters? No. But if you really enjoy putting in the work, if you enjoy things changing all the time, if you think being part of a team and winning is fun, being part of that events team, that AV team, if you're going to put in the care to pronounce people's names correctly, if you don't care, don't do it. And I've seen that, plus the CEOs out there that are like, John, call him John P. And you're like, you know what? That might be funny. That might have been funny 20 years ago, but it's just disrespectful now. And if you're paying a sum of money, I don't care if you have the most brilliant scientists from all over the world, because they do all seem to be scientists. If they have 42 letters in their full name, then I will say all 42, and I'll do it correctly and confirm it. And that's the kind of care you got to have.
Well done. Well done. Okay. So if I'm going to hire you, how do you figure out pricing for something like that?
Yeah, there's a couple different models. I'll give some examples, and I'll full disclosure, I do the by day model. So, you get me. Sometimes I say you get me from when I wake up to when I go to sleep, and I don't need that much sleep.
Mhm.
Now, as I'm getting older, Jane, I need more sleep. I need more sleep. So I price it per day. And the reason is because if you purchase me for the day as an MC, it takes away all my ability to keynote.
Yes.
Keynote available for an additional charge.
Yes.
But the way that I do it is I do it per day, and I do charge for the AV day when possible. I will say that some people, don't want to charge for it. They say, okay, we'll AV check at 7 a.m. for a 9 a.m. start. And then Jane, my spidey senses with some clients start going off.
Yeah.
Alarm bells start ringing. I don't exactly know what I'm going to walk into. I'm always going to arrive the day before anyway. Why don't we fit in a 4 p.m. rehearsal, right? And those kinds of things. So I charge per day, and I don't do a nuance for half days. Again, the reason being, you have me for the full day. I do offer a multi-day discount if someone needs it. And I offer a discount on my keynote if you'd like to do it. The way folks normally will have me, if they've never had me as an MC before, is I'll normally be the closing keynote, because when you get to the end of a conference and you have this huge to-do list and you're like, what is going on? Well, keep the fires going. Don't let it burn you out. Don't get sucked back into the same ruts and habits when you come home to a screaming 4-year-old or 40-year-old or whatever your marriage or family situation looks like at the moment, But that's the way that I do it. Other folks, will do it kind of more a la carte. They'll say, you can get me for a half day or a full day. You can get me for certain hours. You can get me for a particular event. I like to keep it per day because I think it's easy. And, when it does come to, I think, the range of MCs, you will find, on the lower fee range, if people do start asking you about an hourly rate, that's typically going to be a lower end opportunity. It's no disrespect. We all start from somewhere. Money is money. But higher end, when someone's understanding the day rate style, they'll understand and respect not just your time, but also to your demand. As my friend Kelly Swanson says, your price never dictates your talent, right? It's demand that'll change your price. And, she lives here in North Carolina, close to me, but we joke about it. It's money and weight. We can always lose them and find more. So, take that with a grain of salt for some
I love it. I love it. I think there's a perception out there that MC work doesn't pay. And I am a big believer in the whole mindset piece, which is I charge what I charge. And
Without-
I'm okay to say no to a $1,500 engagement if my daily fee is $10,000. Like, okay,
Mhm.
thank you, goodbye. So talk about what your experience is of whether or not the MC work pays.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, my day rate for a non-event partnership is 15,000 a day. My full package, which is what most people do, is $20,000 a day. And we have recurring clients. And that's the way I've built my business. I think that's a big miss when people wonder about why should I MC? Is it a lot of work? Sure. If you think it's fun like me, then to be honest, it's really well paying and it's recurring, which is so vital and challenging sometimes in a speaker business. So I already know, Jane, full disclosure, I have maybe 4 or 5 clients already signed. I'm doing their events this year. They're already signed for next year. Jane, if I don't want to work, if something, God forbid, happens, will it be my gangbusters best year ever? No. Will it still be a multi-6-figure year that I'm feeling very proud of? Yes, because the chances are, and this is where I found the sweet spot, it's once you have me as your MC, or honestly, any MC. And a lot of times, by the way, about 60-70% of my clients have never had an MC before. They've never had it. So I'm building from the ground up. That is more work, but I'm qualified and I'm happy to do it. I like that, right? Because here's the great thing is who you start with, you love it. You love who you're starting with. And if they need or ever want to change, Jane, great news. I know tons of great MCs with totally different styles and vibes. We're supposed to evolve and that's okay. So, what does this look like for me? It looks like, I have one client, one of my favorites, I do 2 events with them. They have 6 gig days a year. They don't require the discount. Awesome. I have another client that has 3 events, a 2-day event, a 5-day event, a 2-day event. Okay. Again, I have an apartment association who I love. They previously had hired a comedian who was completely inappropriate. And he had probably been inappropriate for about 10 years.
Yes.
He was the MC for 24 years.
Boy,
Now,
roll their eyes every year.
Oh my gosh. And it was getting cringier and more of an HR problem. And so they found me, and the great news was, Jane, they hired me as an MC alongside our friend Judson Lively, who is famous for the evolution of dance. And they hired us and I upsold MCing to them. And now, mind you, this is a smaller association. They hired me as a keynote MC. I gave them the MC at a discount. It's an awards. They give me paddle teleprompters. I write nothing. I just get to be myself. Oh, and wear some cool outfits on stage for about 2 hours at a completely open bar awards. Jane, I'm getting paid for that. Confetti cannon. So much opportunity when it does come to, I think, emceeing and the available events out there. But it really is about knowing your lane and what you're really good at, your differentiator. Jeff Savilico, Jeff, I've got a great chin. I'm not going to balance a chair on this thing. This thing's a moneymaker, all right? But Jeff can do it. And there's so many other great MCs out there. The way that you really gain traction, oftentimes by keynoting, a lot of times we can have maybe similar-ish messages to other people. MCing is really about the skill you bring and the energy you bring, and then that third extra secret talent, the hidden flavor. And the hidden flavor for me is really about that positivity and that burnout prevention, because people walk away and they think, God, I feel better around this woman. Lucky person sitting next to me on an airplane. I don't even need to talk to you. And I know you're like, flight, and so there is definitely an abundance of opportunity. And there's also a lot of local opportunity too, which is not always the case for keynoting. Sometimes you have to go away to make it. I honestly, I don't get paid as much in town, and that's a preference I have. I want to be in town more. But if I emceed in town and would accept a lower rate, I would be busy, from nonprofits to associations to company awards to golf tournaments. And that's such a cool option for so many people that maybe don't want to spend their, days running through O'Hare or Atlanta or whatever airport makes you the most frustrated.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about how you landed on burnout and whether or not whether or not it's been helpful for you to pick that lane.
Yeah. So how I landed on it was I was an executive leader that was crushing it. And then all of a sudden I hated my team, my clients, my leaders. I didn't hate my husband, but we were so newly married that it was only a matter of time. I really burned out and I couldn't believe it, Jane, because I loved it. And I am a success. I am a high performer. My work, my title, my income was like these identifying marks of like who I am as a person.
Yes.
And, this is BC times, before COVID times, as I like to call them. This was, in 2016, 2017, and I just couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do. And that's really been kind of that was the precipice for me discovering, first of all, what to call really not loving your work again, how to figure out how to fall back in love with it. And I started to talk to mentors after I was healing. I was doing odd jobs. I mean, I totally obliterated my career, 0 stars, don't recommend it. But before we do this, I started to ask leaders and people I admired, and they basically gave the message of, oh yeah, that happens. Like, that's just the way it goes.
Yes.
And Jane, you know this about me. First of all, that's unacceptable. And second of all, if you tell me to accept something, I will absolutely smite you. I will find a way out of this. And so I started to say, you know what, is this a big change that's happening? It's part of, I have a keynote right now called Leadership U-Turn, and it's brand new this year. And it's really about this U-turn that yes, burnout has happened and leadership, and I think professionalism in general has had, because we used to think leaders were infallible. I thought the leader of my company would save me from everything. And he couldn't. Guess what? He's burned out too. And he was, right? And so all this to say, when I came into my speaking journey, I knew, number one, I had a story that I was willing to share. Not all sides of my story, right? My therapist likes to remind me, we don't tell stories that still hurt us. So, I didn't owe the audience anything, but I was willing to share some of my story in service of them, not to center myself, but in service of them. I also had dug my way out. I dug my way out of, a really high performing kind of more corporate leadership, small business leadership role. I'd gone to the depths, and then I'd come back out and I'd started another 6-figure business in consulting and training and speaking. And I said, okay, in 5 years, I want to be a full-time keynote speaker. Fast forward 18 months. Hello, I'm a full-time keynote speaker. Awesome. And it was great. And I'll tell you this, there were moments where I thought, gosh, the life I dreamed of and the life I'm living, the life I'm living is even better. This was great. And then in 2022, actually, I hit another round of burnout, because as high performers, spoiler alert, number one, we care deeply about what we do. This is a good thing. Number two, my style of burnout, that niche that I speak about, I'm rarely in the stress and wellness space. I'm not going to tell you to breathe, though it does help. I'm not going to tell you to go get a pedicure, even though your toes could use it. That's not my style. I'm getting a pedicure wishing they'd hurry up, right? I love airport nail salons for that. They're like in and out in 20 minutes. I'm like, yes, my nails look
efficiency. People.
Yes, efficiency. But what I wanted people to be able to care so much about themselves and about the things that were really important to them, and then have that build into their work, instead of vice versa, that I cared so much about my work that when my title changed or my income changed or my office location changed, that I didn't just have to crumble everything else around me. And so when I hit the second round of burnout in 2022, I was a burnout keynote speaker who was burned out. I was dealing with grief, which I'm a very, I know grief well. Grief is my friend. Grief knows the code to my back door and visits often. And that's just love wrapped in tears, right? And I was at this moment, and this is where I think emceeing really saved me in a big way. My emceeing business was really picking up. And as a speaker that really lives and breathes our messages, like so many of your listeners out there do, emceeing let me be the fun person without standing on that stage and having my heart broken while I give what I can of myself. And that I will share with you, in 2023, emceeing accounted for a little over 50% of my business. It's unsustainable at that level because I do about 80 gigs a year, or gig days, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
But I'll share with you that it was such a gift to have this skill that I knew other people would pay for, that wasn't so heavy feeling for me, and be able to lean on that a little bit more. And, I'm happy to say, we're always learning, right? And that speaker phrase I mentioned earlier, we teach what we need to learn.
Yeah.
I'm still learning and I'm still sharing, but I was very aware, and I think really true to myself, making sure that I honored my own burnout without putting it on others, or without ever getting into that rut of faking it. Because, I don't know about you, Jane, but life's too short to fake it. And we can tell. I remember the first time I ever met, I'm going to put this in air quotes, a happiness expert. This is a New York Times bestselling author, happiness expert. And I was right before COVID. It was February 2020. I was getting paid $7,500. Jane, I was rich. I was so rich in this moment. And I was a huge fan of this gentleman's work. And I saw him backstage in the green room, and I walked in, and he hasn't spoken yet. And I'm like, hi, it's so nice to meet you. Rachel Sheerin, Ed Sheeran, etc. And he was stiff, but I thought, you know what? Okay. I just realized most speakers were introverts. I'm an extrovert. Okay. I'm like, no problem. And then a banquet server, somebody who was going to refill the drinks and ice and stuff, came into the room. And this man whirled around, snapping his fingers, saying, hey, I'm going to need this and this and this. And I, being an events person, also being a human being on planet Earth, first of all, don't snap. That's rude. Second of all, the aggressiveness was kind of surprising. But he ordered a Dr. Pepper, and me and this person and Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is a unifier, Jane. I visit the doctor once in a while. I love him. And so I said, I'm a Dr. Pepper fan. Me too. And he went into this tirade about how it wasn't as good as it used to be when he was a kid, and how everything changes. And he started to complain as a happiness expert. Wow. And when he hit the stage, Jane, the switch was flipped. The path was in effect. And I'll tell you this, everyone in your life, I truly believe, is a teacher. They're here to remind you. They're here to reflect you. They're here to teach you. And during my really deep grief in 2022, that middle of 22 into 23, in the burnout, I thought about that guy a lot. And I thought, whatever you do, I didn't nearly reach the levels of burnout. Each time I get better, right? This is part of the teachings. And I knew the flames earlier, and I didn't blaze as hot, but I just remember thinking, gosh, make sure that you hold on to yourself long enough that you're not losing your mind at the gate agent, or you're not on stage saying something and getting off and thinking, gosh, what a load of junk Jane, I'm thrilled to report, I think my strategies work, because they worked for me and they've worked for thousands of others. But that's the burnout journey continues, because all of life is work right now. And if you're listening to this as an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this as a Fortune 500 executive that's getting into speaking and wanting to use and share, if you're getting to this as an educator, or a person who's maybe spoken to churches or schools or whatever, the reality is that all of life is work. The question is, are you going to enjoy it? And is it going to be building the legacy? Are you going to be able to live the values you want to live while doing it? And I mean, I'm the luckiest person to talk to today.
So I know that happiness expert was not a member of our school, Tom Getsky, because he is very, very much congruent with his message. And that is a good word for everybody. If you are incongruent with your message, people are going to notice. People are going to call you on it, and it's not going to serve your business or yourself for very long. Okay, so final question. This is a bit of a downer, so I'm sorry we're finishing on this. Let's say you are going through something grief, and, the show must go on. You do need to kind of get back. It's been a few months or whatever, and you do need to get back out on the stage. What advice do you give for people who need to summons up that energy within themselves to go and serve other people? And my piece of advice is focus on them and not yourself. And that will be a good kind of starting position. But let's hear yours.
I love that. I will say, Jane, when you say that, it reminds me, and I can't remember, I can't remember who shared this with me, but somebody asked in a conversation, do you get nervous before you speak? And they said, no, if I get nervous, that means I'm thinking of me. I get excited always because I'm thinking of them. And that wisdom you just shared is, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so happy. It's so true. I think, if I can offer up two quickly, I think, number one, to the women that are listening,
Yes.
Women experience burnout in a completely different and incongruently high way, because we are the caretakers, we're the PTA presidents, we're the Uber drivers, we're the best friend, the sister, the vixen, the angel.
Yes.
There's so many roles women play.
Yes.
And so I will say, for women specifically, my hope, my prayer, my encouragement is that you have one person. It's sometimes not your parent. It's sometimes not your partner. It's sometimes and oftentimes not your children, not good ideas. Someone that you can tell the truth to about how you're feeling and have them know you. Be strong enough and vulnerable enough to have them really know you, so that A, they can care for you, but B, you can ask for what you really need. Sometimes I'm married to a guy we call King Sheerin. He's wonderful. He's excellent. At the same time, sometimes I need to drive around with my best friend, Sarah, with the windows down, go get a Dairy Queen Blizzard and just talk it out. And I don't want to be fixed, and I don't want to be coddled, and I want to be angry, eating dessert. Okay. And I've got a Sarah. And so I might say that for women, especially, to find somebody that you don't have to caretake and tell the truth to, so they can caretake you.
Right. Yes.
That would be a big thing, I think, for everyone. So women, if you want to do bonus work, which we always do. But for anyone out there, I'll share with you, there's a strategy I use and share in one of my keynotes, and it's called the no matter what list. And the no matter what list is a list that is of the people who love you, no matter what your title is, no matter what your salary is. And I think if you're really in the deep throes of burnout, sometimes the studies that I've done, the surveys I've done, show that our reaction as high performers to burnout, when we start to feel like we're slipping, is we start to double compensate. We start to work longer hours, earlier, later. We start to say, don't you see it? We're going for the gold stars. We're starting to martyrdom, all this kind of stuff. Well, I wish I had known this. The no matter what list really doesn't care. And the no matter what list, it might be small to start with. There are family members that weren't on my list before because I wasn't really sure. I was raised to be a good girl. I was raised to be a help. I was raised to be somebody who was very generous, self-sacrificial almost, right? Whether they meant it or didn't mean it, it's no problem. They were so well-intentioned. But the reality is, can I answer the question, does my grandmother, is she on my no matter what list? Yeah, she is. Was she on there originally? No, I wasn't sure. Would she love me with tattoos? Jane, she does. Would she love me? Would she love me if I was in the public eye? Yes. Would she love me because she knows so many things about me that are both human and erroneous and wonderful? Sure, of course. But I was shocked. There were a couple people on that no matter what list. I said, no matter what I do. And then as I started to really assess it and go through the years, my no matter what list, it's not huge, but there's 10 people. How lucky am I? 10 people. And that reminder, I think, of the no matter what list is really helpful, especially as message-based and servant-based entrepreneurs. That, Jane, you could take 5 years off, and the value you have as a coach and an incredible mentor and a 6 and 7 figure and 8 figure support and coach for so many people, it will never go away. It can only be added to. And if you stop today, we'd all be grateful for everything that you've done for the world. So the no matter what list, I think, helps.
Beautiful. All right. Tell everybody. So you have got a course for people who
Yeah,
want to
we just
become MCs. Talk about that and tell everybody where they can get in touch with you and learn more about that.
totally. Well, I'm active on LinkedIn. So Rachel Sheerin, like Ed Sheeran, just spelled a little different. Come and find me. If you've got questions, I'm an open book. I always like to think, we never get anywhere alone. I certainly have speakers I can call. And I wish I had reached out earlier and just asked the dang question. So feel free to reach out. But yeah, we've got a brand new MC course. And Jane, I was one of those people so committed. I'm like, of course, ma. Here's the reality. Number one, there's not a ton of great education around it. Number two, there's certainly not a lot of great education that says more than you can make $500. And I'm like, no, this is the low bar. So I partnered with Jess Ekstrom, who is an incredible keynote speaker, multi-time CEO, investor, badass mom. She just did a huge event with John Maxwell. She's a really big speaker here in North Carolina as well with me. And Jess and I met, and she's a great entrepreneur that's really focused on helping women, especially, get to the stage and build a speaking business, right? If you have something you want to say it well and get paid. And so we aligned, just like you and I align on a lot of values. And I'll tell you, she's had tens of thousands of people go through her mic drop method course. We were really values aligned. And I had all these templates. I had all these packages, strategies. I built this from the ground up with not a lot of mentorship. And I believe it's like this Michelle Obama quote: when the door of opportunity opens and you walk through it, pull someone through with you. And I thought, well, I really don't want to be a coach. Jane, you have a special heart. This is your business model. I can't do it. I'm not in that mode right now. Right. Yeah. And so I said, okay, what if I did it once on a high quality, way, and I just gave away everything. So that, I can only be in one place at one time. This is what created the MC Success course. So we'll drop the link in the chat, but you can visit, I think it's micdropworkshop.com, and you'll see me along with a couple other courses available. But it's been so much fun. And I do think one of the cooler things about the course side of things, full disclosure, is I don't tell you what to think. Mm-hmm. I teach you how to think and what to think about. You can find that signature style and that authentic energy, and then I give you the tools to kind of spanks it up a little bit. You just shapewear up what you want to do, and then you go out and sell it, because the world gets better the more voices we have out there. And I don't know about you, Jane, but I do know about you, Jane. The world gets better when great people have more wealth. That just makes me more generous. It just makes me more safe, secure. It makes me able to do things and invest in other women-owned businesses and donate to the Appalachian Bear Rescue and the MS Society, and also to take a fabulous vacation with a beachfront view, and whatever else I desire, you listening to this desires. You're just getting better the more wealth that you have, because it means that if you're happy, you're more successful. And if you're more successful and happy, that combination, it makes people more generous. And that's what the world needs right now. So
beautiful. Say the URL again.
Yeah, it's micdropworkshop.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel Sheerin, for being here and sharing all of your wisdom. Absolutely thrilled to have you on the show. And if you have comments or questions, come back to me at jane@speakerlauncher.com. And with that, we will say, see you soon, wealthy speakers. Bye for now, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. If you need help building the speaking business of your dreams, head over to wealthyspeakerschool.com and take advantage of our 20-minute next step call. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast.